Hello, my name is Reet Kapoor and I will be discussing the recycling of used lead acid batteries from an interprofessional perspective. I will briefly outline the process and health risks of battery recycling. Then, I will introduce the three professionals whose opinions I requested. And finally, I will present a compiled list of recommendations to address the issue. This is a standard lead acid battery that is widely used by the automobile industry in cars, mopeds, and trucks, and also by the telecom industry to power cell towers. The battery is made up of two types of plastic polymers, sulfuric acid, and the main source of its health hazards, lead. The demand for recycled lead acid batteries is very high, with the global market exceeding 50 billion USD in 2020. While the battery components are hazardous, they usually pose no risk to humans if due process is followed and recycling is done within factories, as in most high income countries. However, this is not the case in low income countries. For example, in Indonesia, this is a typical process followed by a ULAB recycler. They work in structures called smelters, often with very poor ventilation and absolutely no protective gear like masks, filters, or gloves. Such practices exist in low to middle income countries all over the world, from South Asia to Africa to Latin America. Why is this harmful? Well, the lead from melting the batteries form toxic vapors that get inhaled by the workers, drain into the soil, and contaminate the groundwater. The fumes that do escape these smelters via chimneys spread to nearby settlements and get deposited on water sources and crops. There is no safe level of lead exposure. Lead causes potent neurological effects in children, but prolonged exposure is disastrous for adults because lead is a cumulative poison that builds its effects over time, causing tremors, paralysis, hematological disorders, muscle weakness, among others. Lead exposure causes almost a million deaths globally every year. So, why is lead exposure disproportionately seen in low to middle income countries? Most importantly, it is cheaper and profitable for everyone involved, from the workers who get paid more than their daily wage earning counterparts and for the industries. These businesses are not regulated, and governments are unwilling to intervene because this is the only source of employment for unskilled workers. There are no safety regulations or industry standards. There is an acute absence of health intervention and also widespread malnutrition. Poor city planning and rapid urbanization contributes to this. To get a holistic view of what can be done to address the issue, I consulted a business strategist, an environmental consultant, and an urban planner. It is 55% more expensive to mine lead as compared to recycling it. So, from a company's perspective, it is important to recycle. But to do it ethically, companies should build a broad value chain and forge public private partnerships. A supply chain for a lead acid battery would look something like this. The objective is to add some value at each step to eventually assist the informal smelters. Automobile companies should assume a leadership role to work up and down this chain. They can motivate consumers to buy responsibly by marketing a car powered by a safe, certified battery as an aspirational product. They also need to collaborate with their battery suppliers and their suppliers' suppliers to only buy or use lead from licensed recycling units, thus building a more environment friendly and sustainable battery. Public private partnerships would involve the government working together with the industry, leveraging their own outreach and the investment power of the industry. The government can provide incentives to smelter owners by providing them subsidized land and benefits if they agree to undergo a formal training and certification process. Industries should fund these technical training programs and also assure smelters of purchases if they provide safety certified lead. The government will also need to pass tight regulations to hold companies accountable to only use lead from certified smelters. The environmental approach too puts the onus on the automobile companies and governments. The recommendation is for car companies to introduce buyback schemes, adopt local smelters, and give the workers technical training. They should also consider accommodating the smelters as a part of their own factories so as not to use up additional land. Alternative battery technology should be researched and funded by these companies. Government should pass legislation to make it mandatory for buyers and sellers to deal in only certified recycled batteries. The government should also implement screening programs for children and remove all sources of contamination from the neighborhoods near open smelters. Backyard smelting should be made illegal, with buyers and battery manufacturers being charged with the cost of employing and supporting the workers who are left out of work. Scrubbers should be installed on the chimneys of community smelters to try and filter out the smoke. From the planning perspective, the immediate intervention should be to eliminate backyard smelting and build community smelters. These should be close enough so that the workers do not need to spend additional resources on transportation, but far enough as per permissible health limits. The next step can be to involve city planning boards to allocate buildable land for this sector. Given that the industry is informal, the smelter and the residences of the workers are always in flux. One of the ways to stabilize this is to assure the workers that they have a permanent place to live and work. Finally, the actual output or economic value of a city is often skewed because GDPs in the global south gloss over the informal sector. This can be corrected by the mammoth task of data collection. City councils and planners should work together to understand land use and why these people do what they do. Essentially, city planning should not be a top down approach, rather, it should be informed by the workers' needs. Taking salient features from all these three different approaches, I believe that multi-sectoral collaboration is key to addressing unregulated ULAB recycling and to protecting informal workers. There is merit in the idea of PPPs and in holding industries and governments accountable. Given that car companies are the drivers of this demand, they should step in and put pressure on key players in the supply chain, that is, battery manufacturers, suppliers, and consumers, and they should take it upon themselves to push only certified recycled batteries in the market. Governments should develop, implement, and enforce environmental, health, and safety standards for lab manufacturing and recycling. Implementing and enforcing these standards through strong legislation and policy will ensure correct industrial hygiene and occupational measures, improve awareness of risk factors, eliminate bad practices, and help reduce children's exposure to harmful and toxic substances that can affect their health, well-being, and potential. In addition to everything that was suggested, I believe that there is a strong case to be made for involving the financial sector. Shareholders have started to demand climate risk disclosures from oil and gas companies that they own shares in. This could be a model to apply to ULAB recycling as well, where responsible investors would only buy shares in companies that have a committed plan to help formalize this sector. Ultimately, the goal is to bring the informal workers into the legal economy with regulations to safeguard them and the environment from harm. There are some challenges to the approaches outlined above. In the business approach, there might be too many loopholes and a lack of accountability by self-serving companies and government officials. This could be addressed to some degree by bringing international UN organizations into the fold and having them push governments and global companies to sign binding agreements on ULAB trading. In the environmental approach, I believe that most companies will resist the research into alternative technologies and see that as being too much of an investment. As of today, Tesla is the only company that uses the more environmentally friendly lithium batteries in its car. As for the planning approach, I understand that community smelters take the exposure away from backyards, but it may just be a question of shifting the problem to another place instead of addressing the root of it. Some lessons I learned from working with professionals from different disciplines was that I tend to be affiliative, which means that I have trouble holding someone to their word or giving hard deadlines. This in turn makes me falter with time management, and I end up waiting for everyone else's input before beginning my work. Finally, although connecting with the professionals was easy, coordinating times to meet was a bit difficult because everyone lives in different time zones. This is a list of references used. Thank you for taking the time to listen to my presentation.